Welcome back to this special edition of Black Enterprise Business Report. You know, corporate downsizing is forcing many to reevaluate. Do I need to look for a new job? Well, we've brought in two high-powered power players to help red flag. Is it time to make an exit strategy? Jerri DeVard is a corporate marketing executive, and Donna James is president and managing director of Lardon & Associates. Both of you ladies, thank you for coming. I am a self-professed control freak, and I know that, and plenty of the people who are watching this probably are too. But when you're doing an exit strategy, there are some things, the variables, that you cannot control. What are some of those?
Well, you can't control when you necessarily need to take an exit. You can't control always the circumstances. But the one thing you can control is being prepared. You don't wait until you're confronted with the need to leave to think about, if I had to leave, what would I do? How would I go about doing? You have to plan and you have to prepare for it.
And Jerri, you have made a transition with an exit strategy. What are the things that you were able to control?
Well, I think what's interesting about exit strategies is many people as I have hired and as many people as I have unfortunately had to let go, no one when you're hiring them asks what is the severance policy. Everyone negotiates for more money on salary, which, by the way, is not the place where you should put the emphasis. It always should be on the equity piece of it. But no one says, talk to me about your severance policy. But unfortunately, when people are downsized or leaving a job for performance, the first thing they ask is, well, what am I entitled to? And that's really not the time to ask. I have always said that as you are negotiating, it's kind of like a prenup. As you are negotiating to join a company, you need to ask, what is the severance policy? And you need to understand what the dimensions of that are because it changes over time. So you want to understand that and maybe freeze that in time and say, that's what I want, so that it doesn't change, and then understand what the elements of that are.
And what red flag does that send to a boss when you say, well, what's the severance policy? I want to know.
Well, you talk about it naturally. The best time to talk about exiting is when you're joining. You say, of course, we'll never need this. But it's like asking, what is the benefit package? You want to know what the health care package is, what insurance it is, how do you purchase stock, or how are you granted stock? And, oh, by the way, what's the severance policy?
You know, you made a very good point, Donna, about being prepared. But what led you to an exit strategy?
Mine was a health scare. I had what is known as a transient ischemic attack, sometimes called a mini stroke. So I was actually paralyzed on my right side. I couldn't speak. You know, went through the whole process of regaining everything, thank God. And then I'm sitting there in my hospital bed, looking at myself on the cover of Black Enterprise as one of the top 75 African Americans in corporate America, going, what's wrong with this picture? I need to rethink what's going on in my life because no one could tell me why it happened. And so I decided then that it was time to look at the exit strategy I had thought about. I mean, there's the exit strategy where you say, I'm going to retire, and this is what I'm going to do when I retire. There's the exit strategy when you say, well, if they ever ask me to leave, I've got my severance package. I know what, I call them parting gifts are up front. Well, if you're an executive, you know it could be one or the other, retirement or someone asks you to leave. So I had to put in place my retirement exit strategy probably 8 to 10 years sooner than I thought I would.
What is your advice to someone who is anticipating having to make a transition to a new job or to retirement?
Well, the last thing you do is say, I'm sick of this, I'm out of here. I mean, that doesn't benefit anyone. You have to be strategic, much like you have been about your career. And it has to be a process and a plan. You really have to think, do I really need to leave? What is it that I'm looking for? Because we all suffer from the grass being greener on the other side. So if it is about promotional opportunities or opportunities to advance, I think you have to really be aware of the fact that you've pushed as hard as you can in terms of getting people's attention, in terms of what you've demonstrated, and you really believe that you can't get it done here. Once you then decide to leave, that's when the process begins. You don't leave. You have to think about under what conditions do I leave and what kind of exit do I want to make.
To Jerri's point, have a plan. Work your plan. Take your time until you find the next jumping off point and what you're going to. It's a lot better to go to something than just to run away from where you are today. Employers, like to hire people that they think are doing a great job where they are and are wanted where they are.
How do you put yourself out on the market without letting your current employer know that you're actively looking?
I always say you dig your well before your water runs dry. You have to have relationships with people before you even think about leaving that are based upon trust, that you can go to and say, I am interested in finding a job, but please keep this confidential.
And most headhunters will keep it confidential. If you contact them and tell them you're looking, they won't. And
on your own terms.
And it's always on my own terms.
And really, that's what it's all about.
And that's what exiting about. You want to exit on your own terms.
Excellent. Donna, James, and Jerri DeVard, thank you again so much. Up next, we'll leave you with a look at the 3rd annual Women of Power Summit from Palm Springs, California.